Hey everyone, so today we're going to do something kind of embarrassing, and I was going to do DIY upcycles today, and then throughout the week I had so many fails. Well, even further back past the week I've had so many fails that I was like, you know what, I should do a DIY fail video, because that's more of like my actually what's been happening around here a lot more often than DIY victories, shall we say. So let me preface this by saying, when the pandemic hit, my husband had just purchased a sewing machine for me because I had just purchased a huge lot of fabric from a fabric store that closed down. I am the least likely person to be a sewer, seamstress, homemaker type, whatever you want to call it. Like, I've spent most of my life idolizing drug dealers and being a criminal, idolizing gangsters and, those kind of people. I was the least likely person to take any sort of interest in Susie down the street, what she's cooking up in the kitchen or what she's putting together on her sewing machine, or any decorating or laundry tips, yada, yada, yada. What I'm trying to say is, I didn't have an interest in any of these domestic type duties, so I am like the least likely person to see. Like, this is so bizarre that now I'm trying to sew, is basically what I'm trying to say. But okay, so I went from not having an interest in sewing to starting an online business, and it sort of snowballed into one of the things that I love about like selling vintage and selling thrifted items is you can hand pick one-of-a-kind pieces, sort of rescue them, bring them new life, all that good stuff, right? So when I saw that fabric, in my mind, I didn't know what I was going to do with it at the time, but the reason that sewing came across to me as like maybe a good idea was because it's like, okay, I'm already a creative person, and then the wheels started to turn in my mind. I'm like, how cool would it be if I was able to take a bunch of discarded materials, fabrics, vintage items, and start repairing them, and like maybe even redoing them and giving them a little bit of a modern flair so they could be wearable again. And again, these would be completely unique pieces I could bring into the market. And so that's how the idea of sewing was born. I wanted to do something called upcycling, and I still do, but I'm just saying, I went from 0 to 60 real quick, meaning like I started to take apart the clothing, rip it apart, cut it up, and I was trying to reassemble it in a way that would be like wearable again. But what I failed to realize was I had zero sewing skills. I had zero experience in reading a sewing manual. I had nobody to guide me. So I started to fuck up a lot of shit, basically. And why it was starting to become disheartening was because when I would go on YouTube and type in like DIY men's shirt or upcycle this, upcycle that, I wasn't seeing any fails. I was just seeing like this person putting this together and it looks so simple and so easy. And then when I tried to do it, it was complete trash. So I am sharing these with you today because if you're like me and you're just beginning your upcycling or sewing journey, you aren't really a traditional homemaker type, this doesn't come naturally to you, this video is for you. Or if you just want a good laugh, some of these are horrendous. Like, I don't even want to put them on. They're embarrassing, but I'm going to because it helps lighten my mood a little bit, because I can get so serious when I'm like in the middle of a project and then I screw it up and I'm like, oh, like when your vision doesn't line up to what you want it to be. That happens so much when you're starting off doing something that you have no idea how to do it. And P.S., by the way, unless I go off on a tangent, this is going to be a raw, unedited video because I'm super short on time. So unless I go off on a tangent, I'm going to try to just keep it to one take. So if you think, God, she's like flying off the cusp, or she's kind of like, talking really fast, it's because I'm trying to get it done quick, and I'm also trying to not edit myself 1,000 times and be like, oh, not good enough, like, let's do it again. I'm trying to be just faster with this stuff, right? So, okay, let's get in. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, keep in mind, almost all of these were already damaged before I started working with them, damaged or flawed in some way. So there's that. There wasn't a lot lost in the process, I guess you could say. Okay, so this was like a grandma, like a super grandma cardigan, and I tried to add this like fringe to the bottom. Can you see that? But I ran out of fringe, and then I tried to like, first of all, it just looked really super busy. And then you see I ran out, and so I had to add like that little ruffle thingamajig. It's just so bad. I can't put this on because it doesn't fit me. But I mean, you can see what I'm saying. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's just like, and that's a lot. That's a lot going on there for that little cardigan. Okay. Okay, next. I'm just gonna show you like the worst 5 or 6 that I found. Oh God. This is a recent one, and this is one of those like, I will try this on. I'll show you a try on. This is one of those like, this seemed like a cute idea in my head, and then I started with this fabric in the back, which it was a blanket that I cut. I think it was in one of my hauls. I bought it for the fabric. It was a blanket that I cut the part off I liked. I liked that print, but then I didn't have enough for an actual poncho, kimono, whatever you want to call it. So then I tried to find fabric to go with it, and I picked this denim. In my mind, it was going to look a lot cooler, like very southwestern, like, I don't know, whatever it was supposed to. It didn't come out the way I envisioned it, not even close. And here, I'll just put it in a clip. It was bad. It's bad. This one was so bad, I stopped making it. I was like, okay, this is going like one of those things. It was already bad, and then I like added this trim to try to like go with this, and it's like, no, it's so bad. Like, it's not getting better. Everything I do to it is making it uglier. So I was like, okay, step away. It's dead. Dead in the water. Okay, next up, this one was such an awkward fit. Like, when I tried it on, it looked fine, and I pinned it down in place, and then I started sewing it, and that is where everything went horribly wrong. Like, okay, first of all, let's just notice how completely off the dimensions are. Like, this one is so much smaller, and I swear I thought they were like gonna be the same size, and then when I started sewing it, it got like all wonky, and it like curved, and it did all this stuff that I don't. First of all, I'm not advanced enough, I don't think, to be sewing this type of fabric, like knit or whatever. But that's what happened. That's what happened. This one looked so ugly and awkward and atrocious when I put it on. But in my mind, it was going to be like this really like simple, chic, timeless, like poncho sweater thingamajig that you could just cover up with. And it would be like comfy and cozy. And this is what came out. Okay, the next one isn't that bad, but what makes it so bad is that I decided to keep things simple so that I would maybe be able to have some success and not overdo it, right? And why this one burned so much is because I was so close. I was so close. And like the last 5 minutes, I botched it. So I took the sleeves off. The sleeves on this were horrible, like really bad stained, like one of those things that you thrift. And I liked the embroidery on this. I picked this up in the fall, and I just liked the embroidery on it. And it was a cardigan, so I was like, I picked it up to sell. But then when I saw how destroyed the sleeves were, they were just like bleached so bad. I don't know how I miss that. Do you guys do that where you're so tired, you've been out thrifting so long that you bring something back and it's just like, how did I not see this? So I took the sleeves off of it and then I sewed it down, and I probably should have just stopped there, but I wanted to add like a cute little cap sleeve, and I didn't make it big enough for one, but then also, let me see like which side came out and which one didn't. One of them has like, it's got like a puckering. Can you see that? It's got like this little puckering. So when you put it on, it just looks awkward. Another one bites the dust. And another one, and another one, and another one bites the dust. This one I think I was personally attached to because I designed the graphic of the back of it. I drew that on my computer, and then I put it up on my Merch by Amazon account, and this shirt was selling semi regularly. It was basically paying for my Amazon Prime membership. Anyway, so it was a t-shirt. I bought one for myself. I didn't like the fit was off, and so I was like, okay. I decided to put it with like this vintage men's shirt, and then I tried to add like these little frilly, again I tried to add cap sleeves, and this like just nothing. Let me put it on. Just nothing about this was working. But I guess what I got practice with was I got practice working with this metallic threading, and I got practice sewing on a graphic onto the back of something. So then I was able to successfully do that on a few other items. But yeah, so there's that. And next we have this one I put on my TikTok, and then I had the idea of like, why don't I start washing some of this stuff and see how it holds up in the wash? And because I was like partway starting to second guess myself, because I had made several on, I don't know if they were ones, I think they were mostly ones I put on my TikTok. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I'm going to post it to sell because I'm making the stuff not for myself. I'm making it because I want to sell it on Poshmark and eBay. But what I started to second guess was like, I hope this stuff will hold up in the wash. I started to second guess, like, at first I didn't even question it. I'm like, it's sewn down. Like, it's perfect. Like, it'll hold up nice. How could it not? But I'm glad I had that second guessing thought, because I was like, the last thing I want to do is start selling stuff that I've made and I'm putting my name on it and I'm like vouching for it, and then it's like horrible quality. That would be the absolute worst thing I could do, because then I've spent all this time building up my little shops, even though they're tiny. Like, I put all this time and effort. I've been selling since 2014. My gross revenue doesn't reflect that because I'm not a big seller, but I've put in so much time and effort, and I'm getting to the point where I do want this to be my main thing, and I want to start growing it, and I want to be smarter about business, and I'm taking like an online business class and doing things like this to help progress myself to think in that way. And so I'm glad I had that thought. Was like, basically this was a long-winded way of saying I put this in the wash, and a lot of it, look at that, can you see it? It's like, this is shredded, and I bought this at a fabric store, and it said it was for apparel, yet it didn't even hold up to a single wash. And I did like double stitching on it, so that's what they recommend for it. But see, this side did hold up, but the other side didn't. It's like, that was kind of a wake-up call, because I was like, okay, well, I definitely don't want to be buying trims and stuff from this store anymore, and I haven't since then. And now I'm trying to thrift all the trims and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll buy, like, for instance, pretend like I picked this up at an estate sale. I bought this for myself on Poshmark, but for instance, I see this at an estate sale and it's vintage, or it's just a nice quality. It doesn't even have to be vintage. It's like a nice quality fabric. I picked that up with the intention of I'm gonna cut it up and use it for its trim. So that's what I learned from that one. And last, I saved the one that hurt the most, because this was like one of those things where I've had this fur coat for a while. It started off as a consignment item. It went horribly wrong because someone purchased it from me and then returned it. And I didn't have proof, but they returned it in a very damaged condition. So basically I just had the fur to work with. Well, I had to pay the consignment client because regardless, it's not their fault that the customer did this, you know? And the chances of this happening again were just so slim. It's like I went ahead and paid that person for the fur coat. The customer returned it to me, and it was in severely damaged condition. And I really looked over this thing good before I mailed it out. So it did have a lot of damage that I noted in the description, but they sent it back even more damaged. And so it was like, okay, this is me trying to make lemonade out of some lemons. I'm like, okay, I have this beautiful, it's fox fur, and I'm like, I'm gonna cut it up and I'm gonna start using the bits that aren't damaged. So it's like super soft. I love how it feels. I'm not for animal cruelty whatsoever, and I don't purchase genuine, God, there's like hair flying through. I don't purchase new fur items, but I do purchase them secondhand when I see them at thrift stores and they're affordable, because the way I see it is it's a nice quality fabric. The animal has already suffered and died for the cause, and if I can bring that back to life and maybe somebody will save them from purchasing a new one, was the train of thought that I go down. And I personally, if I want it for myself, I figure, okay, well then just get it secondhand. So that was a long-winded way of saying I tried to take this patch of fur that wasn't damaged. God, that light's like atrocious. Let me turn that off. Okay, now it's dark, but okay, whatever. Okay, so that was a long-winded way of saying I took this piece of fur that was in pristine condition. I cut it to be the size of this purse, which is a really nice leather purse. It's made in Italy. And then where I went wrong was I glued it down in place and everything looked good. But then when I sewed it, you see how that fur, like, it's hard to see like on camera. Okay, basically some of the fur started to come through here when I was stitching. And so then I thought it's not like really good enough to post for sale, you know, because it doesn't look very professional. It just looks kind of shoddy. And then some of this fur I damaged in the sewing process, and I tied the knot like in here, and you can't feel it. You can't see it, but there's this big old knot right here. And so then I tried to cut the knot, and then I cut some of the fur, and so it ruined it. This one stung the most because I felt like this one had the most potential of any of the ones I'd made so far, because it was like, it was simple, it was elegant, it was timeless, it was, anyway, it's ruined now. But that's all. That's all the ones I'm going to share. That's all the ones I'm going to share for today. And I'd say that making this video, I hope it made somebody smile out there. And I will say, I am really trying. Okay, Nico's school is coming back on. Hopefully you can still hear me. I will say I'm really trying to, when I mess something up, I try to use that as a practice to learn something from it, or to even like take it apart again and try to put it back together. So these are all in like the mess up pile. So if later I come back and I'm like, okay, I think I can, for instance, like with this vest, I like how this looks on it, and this held up okay in the wash. I don't like the back whatsoever, so I might just go ahead and rip off the front of the vest and like make a whole nother vest out of it somewhere down the line. But basically what I'm learning is I'm not advanced enough to be in apparel right now. So what I need to do is I need to just embellish things. If it's apparel, just like add embellishments to them, not totally rip apart the garment construction and try to re-put it together. I'm not advanced enough to do that yet, but that's something I can work towards. In the meantime, I can do more simple projects. And even though they might be a little less exciting to work on, if I can actually get some use out of these fabrics and get them out to somebody else that might love or appreciate them, then at least I can maybe build up a little bit of a confidence, and I want to make sure that what I'm putting out is a good enough quality to sell too. So I don't want to stand behind something that's crappy. I would say the other biggest thing I took away from so far doing all these projects and upcycles and stuff is to take away the expectation that every single thing I work on is going to be or has to be good enough to sell, and just to see it right now as like practice. So maybe I don't pick out my nicest fabrics right now. Maybe I just pick out the ones that I'm not that crazy about. Maybe like some of the ones that I've acquired for free or that were very inexpensive for me that I purchased in a lot, or in an estate sale lot or something along those lines, where I just paid like $2 for it, or maybe some of the fabric that's been given to me. Practice with those because I'm not so attached to them. Get my processes down and maybe just focus on like 4 or maybe 2 types of products to work on, and just do them over and over and over again until I feel like I have my process down, and then try to start to make something to possibly sell. So that was a huge takeaway, because then that takes the pressure off of every single project, and it's a lot more realistic. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So if you are also starting something new and you suck really bad at it, it's not it's just keep at it, because everything, we will get better at this as we go. And I really do believe in sustainability and reusing things that are already out there. So I still stand behind this concept, but I know that I have so far to go. But yeah, I just wanted to share that today. And if you want me to continue to share my fails as I go along, let me know. I'll do upcycles, fails, probably thrift hauls, and obviously I'll do some of the more serious stuff about addiction, which is why I started this channel to begin with. But lately, if I'm having something really kind of heavy going on in my life, I notice that I just kind of want YouTube to be like a fun little escape and light and not deep and not heavy. And so that's where the other content is kind of coming in to kind of help me out on weeks like today when I'm really struggling in my personal life. I just needed a little escape on YouTube and something kind of funny and light. So thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for everybody that leaves comments for me. I really, really do appreciate you taking the time to do that. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Peace.